Oh, it's all coming together. This is one of my favorite meals. I get so excited every time I cook a fried breakfast, an English fried breakfast. What's your favorite on this?
Oh, I like the bacon.
You like the bacon?
Me and Winston, we like the sausage, don't we, Winston? 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 Come back with that leg of lamb.
It was the famous playwright William Morham who once said, "To eat well in England, you should have breakfast 3 times a day." I could do that. It was the Victorians who thought that breakfast, traditional English breakfast, was the most civilized meal of the day. And they would sit down and have kippers and deviled kidneys and just the most amazing old-fashioned ingredients, not the traditional sausage, eggs, bacon, and all of the things that we associate with the traditional breakfast today. When I was at Balmoral Castle cooking for the royal family, we'd cook kidneys and kippers all the time. It wasn't until really the war years that English breakfast really took off. And then people were eating that sausage, eggs, bacon, mushrooms, black pudding, fried bread all the time. And it became super popular. It's one of my favorite meals, and whenever I fly into the UK, it's something I've got to have. I go straight to the restaurant in the airport and order a traditional fried breakfast, and it's so good. Here in the USA, a lot of the American pubs, British pubs, they serve a traditional breakfast, but it's not always the same. They use American bacon and American sausage and, worse, American beans. Yuck. I'm making a traditional fried breakfast today. And to make a traditional, authentic breakfast, you've got to have authentic ingredients. The bacon, the sausage, the black pudding, and the baked beans. And I've put a link to them below in the description so you can make an authentic British breakfast too. So let's go through the authentic ingredients, starting with the bacon. The bacon is back bacon, not the long, thin, streaky bacon used in America. And it's cut from the loin and has a little bit of the streaky bacon, the back bacon, on there. In England, they're cut so thin and they're called a rasher of bacon. There's a new word for you, rashers of bacon. Sausages, authentically known as bangers in the UK. That's because during the war years, meat was pretty scarce and just wasn't available and was super expensive anyway and rationed. They filled the sausages with lots of rusk and lots of breadcrumbs and lots of seasonings and lots of fat in there too. So when they were in the pan cooking away, sometimes that fat would just burst through the skin. They'd bang, bangers, and splatter everywhere. That's where the bangers came from. There's many different types of sausages you can have for breakfast, and the traditional ones are ground pork and seasonings like mace, which is sort of the outer kernel of the nutmeg, and then the rusk in there as well. My favorite are Lincolnshire sausages. The sage and onion flavor in there is just amazing. When I cooked for the royal family, the Cumberland sausage was the favorite. They didn't break them into links. It was just one long sausage, just in a coil. And that was great for Prince Philip just to throw on the grill and just cook as a whole sausage. And then he could cut the portion that you wanted. Sausages, in my opinion, are what make breakfast. In England alone, they spend $1 billion a year on sausages. They're sausage mad in the UK. Black pudding. It gets a bad rap, but you know what? It's so tasty. It's high in fiber and rich in iron. What's in it? It's pig's blood. It's pig's blood, and it's thickened with meal, with oatmeal and things like that, and lots of seasonings, and all packed together, and it's absolutely delicious. This was a favorite of King Henry VIII, way back in Tudor times. He'd have this on the menu all the time. Back in the war years, housewives would actually walk over to the abattoir carrying a pail and come back with a big pail of blood that they'd make their own black pudding to last them the week. It's so good. No, you've got to try it. Order some and try it. I promise you'll love it. Mushrooms need to be the little baby bellas. They call them flat mushrooms in the UK. They're a little more open than this, but they're really meaty in texture and they add a gorgeous flavor to the breakfast. And then tomatoes. Tomatoes, we can't use tinned, canned. You have to use fresh tomatoes, usually from the greenhouse in jolly old UK, right? You take the tomatoes, you cut them in half and saute them, and they're just the perfect addition to this fried breakfast. Bread. We have bread, but we don't always have toast, and it's fried bread that we normally serve with a traditional breakfast. Lots of oil in the pan, we drop in the bread and we fry it till it's crispy. As you bite into it, all that oil runs down your chin. Oh, delicious. We only live till about 25 in England, but we do eat good. Eggs. Eggs. You can do boiled eggs, you can do poached eggs, you can do scrambled eggs, but for the traditional breakfast, it's got to be fried eggs. And finally, the beans. It's got to be baked beans and it's got to be Heinz. English baked beans. In 1886, Heinz started introducing baked beans into the UK. Now, over 2 million cans a day are consumed in the UK. Everybody loves their baked beans. They really are the best. They even have the royal warrant. They provide beans to Buckingham Palace. I used to cook beans for breakfast at Buckingham Palace too, and Princess Diana loved them. She'd actually eat a whole tin of beans for breakfast. Sounds crazy, but you know, when you think about it, there's only 7 grams of sugar in the English style baked beans. They're rich in protein, high in fiber, very low in fat as well. And so they're perfect for her to eat that really big carb boost, ready for going to the gym and doing a workout. Now let's get cooking. Sausages take the longest to cook, so we start with those. A little oil in the pan first, and then we can add the sausages. Even Winston likes sausages. Once the sausages start cooking, then we can add the bacon. Now the bacon is not going to go super crispy. It's not like American bacon with all that fat marbled through it. It's, like I said, like a sort of pork loin, but the flavor is so good. Then we can start the mushrooms and the black pudding. The mushrooms, a little oil in the pan, and drop the mushrooms in. And I like to add a little butter in there as well. It's tempting to add some garlic, you know, the garlic mushrooms and everything, but not for breakfast, not in a traditional breakfast. The black pudding just needs a little bit of oil in the pan. It's already cooked, so all we're doing is reheating it. And when we reheat it, we're just making it nice and crispy, crunchy on the outside and really soft and tender in the middle. The beans can go in the pan, and we're just going to warm those. And then the tomatoes, let's take out that little green bit in the center. And then just cut them in half. Salt and pepper. And into the pan, upside down. Keep an eye on the sausages, we don't want them to burn, but cooking them on low, that helps them from stop spitting. And then we can turn the bacon too. And the black pudding. The tomatoes, we're just going to get a nice sear on one side and then turn them over. We don't want to cook them until they go really mushy. I mean, we might as well use canned tomatoes. Cooking them in the same pan as the black pudding, as the black pudding releases all that fat in there, that pork fat, that flavor goes into the tomatoes. Oh, it's all coming together. This is one of my favorite meals. I get so excited every time I cook a fried breakfast, an English fried breakfast. And give the beans a stir. Whoever thought about having beans for breakfast was a genius. I mean, it's pure protein and it's carbs and it's super healthy, fills your belly, ready for the day. Now, obviously, if you're making this at home, You don't need to get 28 pans on the stove like I'm doing. You can just get one big skillet and you can push everything together and do it in there. Just remember that you have to go in order. Start off with those sausages, then go in with the bacon, and then the mushrooms, the black pudding, the tomatoes, and then finally your baked beans, obviously in a separate pot, otherwise it goes all mushy. Once everything's cooked, you can just put it all in one pan or on a tray, a little aluminum foil over it and keep it warm while we do the fried bread and the eggs. The fried bread, we want some oil in the pan. Lots of oil. We're deep frying. If you've got some bacon juices, that's even better in here too. We get the oil hot and then drop the bread into that hot oil. The eggs, again, some more oil, not too much, and then we can take the eggs and crack them into the pan. It helps if you've got really fresh eggs. The older the eggs, they just start falling apart. Once the eggs are in the pan, let them sit there. Don't start pushing them about, moving them around. Let them sit. Let the albumin just all come together. When we drop the bread into the oil, it needs to start sizzling. It's fried bread after all. But let that cook until it starts to get crispy and golden brown on the outside. And then we can turn it. See? While the eggs are cooking, and we don't need to toss them over, we're doing them sunny side up, not over easy. And they'll carry on cooking if we just leave them there. That residual heat keeps them cooking through. While they finish cooking, we can start plating everything else. Breakfast, when I was cooking for the royal family, was always served as a buffet. So people would get up, you know, between sort of 8, 8:30 and just come down for breakfast. And that way they could help themselves to whatever it was that they wanted. This delicious bacon that's just gone a little crispy, but it's still nice and tender too. And then carefully with the mushrooms and the tomatoes, the baked beans, our eggs, and these mushrooms. And finally, some fried bread. The full English breakfast. Eggs, bacon, sausage, tomatoes, mushrooms, baked beans, black pudding, the full Monty. It's called the full Monty because General Montgomery loved this for his breakfast too. The tradition of this breakfast. Let's go and eat. The only other thing we need to complement the breakfast is HP sauce. It stands for Houses of Parliament. It's been around for 100 years or more. This beautiful molasses flavored sauce, a little bit like sort of A1, but in my opinion, much better. Anyway, enough talking. Let's start eating some of this. There's so much food. Harry, come round and join me. Come and eat some of this breakfast. I know you like breakfast too. And Winston's here. Winston loves this food. Winston loves sausage. Winston loves bacon. Dig in. As they say in England, eat up, you're at your auntie's. What's your favourite on this?
No, I like the bacon.
You like the bacon?
Me and Winston, we like the sausage, don't we, Winston?
You do realise the cameras are still rolling.
Wait, what? That bit's not going in the video. Cut. Thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for subscribing. We're almost at 100,000 viewers, 100,000 subs. That's incredible. I can't wait till we get there. We've got a huge Q&A when we get to 100,000. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do hit subscribe. Leave a comment below. Tell me your favorite breakfast and what you eat with it. And we'll see you again soon.